Okay, let's just jump right in. If you are looking at the markets today, January 29, 2026, you're probably doing a double take. You're hitting the refresh button over and over.
You have to be.
Because the numbers on the screen this morning, they don't just feel wrong. I mean, they look impossible.
In any kind of normal functioning market, you are absolutely right. They would be impossible. It's like the laws of financial physics has just been suspended for the day. And yet, here we are.
So just to set the table for everyone listening to this deep dive, we're not talking about a little bit of market chop here. This feels like a fundamental break. We have an emergency situation unfolding. Silver, just plain old silver, has blown past $120 an ounce in Western markets.
Which is front page news by itself, a historic move.
Exactly. But then you look over at China and it's trading at $139.
Right. And that right there is the core mystery we need to unpack today. That's what is that, a $21 price gap per ounce between New York and Shanghai?
And usually if that gap is like 10 cents, traders go crazy. The algorithms usually fix that in a blink.
In milliseconds. It's called arbitrage. It's the grease that keeps the wheels of global finance turning. Theoretically, a trader sees $120 in New York, $139 in Shanghai. They push a button.
Buys the cheap stuff, sells the expensive stuff.
And pockets the difference. It's supposed to be risk-free profit. That gap should not exist for more than a few seconds.
But it's not closing. It's just sitting there. It's like finding a $100 bill on the sidewalk and watching person after person just walk right by it.
Which tells you something really profound and, honestly, a little frightening. It means arbitrage is dead. The fundamental mechanism that connects global prices has just snapped.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We have to figure out why it snapped, why some of the world's biggest mints have basically put a closed sign on the door, and whether this is a temporary glitch or if the system itself is breaking.
It's a huge question, but the data we're seeing today, especially from places like the Perth Mint and the Shanghai Volts, it strongly suggests we're seeing a market decoupling. The paper price and the physical price are getting a divorce.
A divorce. I like that. Okay, let's get into the specifics then. Segment 1. The broken market. Walk me through the exact numbers, because it feels like we're looking at two different worlds.
We are. So let's start with the COMEX in New York. That's the main Western exchange. Silver's hovering right around that $120 mark. Now, historically, that's wild. That's uncharted territory. But that's the price in the West.
Okay.
Now you look east, the Shanghai Futures Exchange, the SHFE, today it hit 31,099 yuan per kilogram.
And when you run the conversion on that?
It comes out to roughly $139 an ounce. The Shanghai Gold Exchange is telling a similar story. It closed around $138.25. So yeah, there's this massive, undeniable spread.
And the reason traders aren't jumping on it isn't taxes or regulations. It's something else.
It's much simpler and, frankly, much scarier than that. The arbitrage isn't happening because you can't get the physical metal. You can't just buy silver in New York and ship it to China because what you're buying in New York is largely a paper promise. It's a contract.
So it's a claim check, but the suitcase is on air.
That's the perfect way to put it. That $21 premium in Shanghai, that's the price of reality. That's the premium for getting actual physical metal delivered versus getting a paper promise in New York. The source we're looking at is blunt. It just says, arbitrage is dead.
Because the asset itself can't move to close the gap, the metal just isn't available.
Exactly. It's like a grocery store advertising cheap apples.
Right.
But when you get there, the bin is empty. The price is a mirage.
Which is unsettling. And it leads us right to the next piece of this puzzle, which is why the bin is empty. Let's talk about this supply chain freeze.
This is where things get really serious.
This is the part of the research that honestly gave me chills. We're not just talking about delays. We're talking about major institutions just saying no.
Correct. We've got confirmation on two of the world's biggest refiners, the Perth Mint, Metalor.
These are the big boys, the foundation.
Absolutely. We're talking about century-old institutions. This isn't some small coin shot. This is the plumbing of the entire system. And right now, they have completely halted all new silver orders.
So not it's going to be expensive, not you'll have to wait. Just no.
Zero. They are not accepting new business. It's like going to a bank and they say, sorry, we're not dealing with money today.
That's insane.
And it's not just them. Argor Heraeus and Nadir, two other major players, they are taking orders, but they're reporting huge backlogs. You order today in January, and they're telling you maybe April, maybe May.
A 3 to 4 month wait in a market moving this fast, that's an eternity.
If you can even get it. Wholesale premiums the price dealers pay have shot up 100 to 200% in just the last 48 hours. And we have this statement from Bullion Star, a major dealer in Asia. They're saying they're actively sourcing whatever silver remains available, regardless of the price.
Whatever remains available, that doesn't sound like negotiation. That sounds like a panic.
It's wholesale panic. When a dealer says they're just trying to find any metal, it tells you this isn't a truck breaking down. It suggests a structural failure. The silver just isn't there to meet the demand.
Okay, so a price gap that can't be fixed, major suppliers shutting down.
No.
Where's all the silver going? It can't just vanish.
No, it doesn't vanish, but it is disappearing from the vaults at a rate that is, well, it's shocking. This is what we're calling the smoking gun.
With Shanghai vault data.
Yep. The specific numbers from today, January 29th, the Shanghai Futures Exchange silver vaults, they dropped by 26,360 kilograms in one day.
Okay, wait. Help me visualize that. How much is that in terms?
That's over 26 metric tons. Picture a full-size semi-truck trailer filled to the brim with solid silver bars just driving out of the vault. Gone. In a single day.
Wow.
To give you some context, that's a 5.2% drop in their entire inventory overnight.
5% of everything they have. Gone in 24 hours.
And look at the week before. From January 19th to the 23rd, the total drawdown for that entire 5-day week was only 1,530 kilograms. So yesterday's drop was 17 times the rate of the entire prior week.
That's not a trend. That's an acceleration. That's a run on the bank.
It is. And we have to ask why. This isn't just speculators, betting on futures. This is industrial offtake. This is silver leading the system to be used.
And the sources are pointing to solar energy as the big black hole here, right?
It's the primary driver. The data from the Silver Institute for 24 and 25 showed record-breaking demand. China is building solar farms at an incredible rate. And here's the key thing about silver and solar panels.
It doesn't come back.
Exactly. It's a black hole. Once that silver is turned into conductive paste and put in a panel, it's there for the 25-year life of that panel. It's gone. Consumed. It's not like jewelry you can just melt down again.
So China is just vacuuming up the world's silver for their energy needs?
For energy and for strategic reasons. They've been putting tighter and tighter export controls on things like silver compounds. They're treating it like a critical defense and energy metal, not just money.
They're hoarding it.
Effectively, yes. When a country's domestic price is 20% higher than the global price, and they're restricting exports, that's strategic accumulation. They're securing the physical metal they need, and they couldn't care less what the paper price in New York says.
This all sounds, if you're holding physical silver, this sounds like the best news you could ever hear. A guaranteed win. Next stop, $150, easy. But I'm looking at our notes, and the next segment is the risk. So I have to play devil's advocate. This isn't a slam dunk, is it?
Not at all. There are huge landmines here. Blind optimism in a market like this is how you get wiped out. We have to pump the brakes and look at the bear case.
Okay, so what could derail this train?
Intervention. The source material points back to 2011. Silver was on a tear, almost at $50. Everyone was screaming $100 silver. Then the CME and the COMEX stepped in.
Right.
They raised margin requirements 5 times in 9 days.
They just changed the rules of the game mid-play?
They have to protect the exchange. But the effect was it just crushed the rally. It flushed out all the speculative money. We could easily see that happen again.
What about governments? Central banks?
Absolutely a risk.
Right.
Western central banks could use swap lines. China could impose capital controls. Or you could just get what's called a blow-off top.
Explain that.
That's when a price goes vertical, just straight up, say from $120 to $150, and then it crashes just as fast. A 30, 40, even 50% drop. If you buy at the absolute peak of that move, you could be holding the bag for a very long time.
And there's another risk you mentioned earlier, the paper promise idea. Counterparty risk. Can you make that more concrete for someone who, say, owns a silver ETF?
This is so important. If you own an ETF or an unallocated account, you don't actually own the metal. You own a claim on the metal, a liability from the institution.
And if the Perth Mint can't even fill orders?
Then your claim might not be good for anything. In a true physical squeeze, the paper market could face a force majeure event.
The legal get-out-of-jail-free card.
Pretty much. We saw it in the nickel market on the LME back in 2022. The exchange can just step in and say, look, we can't deliver the metal. We're settling all contracts in cash.
So you think you own silver at $120 hoping it goes to $200, and they just hand you your $120 back and say, tough luck, game over.
Exactly. Or they cash you out at a price they decide. In a moment of crisis, owning the physical thing is very, very different from owning a piece of paper that says you own the thing.
Okay, so with all this, The shortage, the vault drains, but also the risk of a massive crash. What are the possible paths forward? The source laid out 3 scenarios.
Right. Scenario 1 is that blow-off top we just talked about.
Yeah.
Price goes crazy, then collapses back to maybe $70 or $80. A lot of people get hurt, and the market spends the next year healing.
The painful one.
Very. Scenario 2 is more of a prolonged consolidation. The price just kind of chops around between, say, $100 and $130 while the supply chain scrambles to catch up. Things eventually normalize, but at a much higher baseline.
And the third one.
The third one is the true shortage. This is where the paper market just completely loses credibility. The physical metal is unobtainable. Prices just keep going up. $150, $200, who knows? Because industrial users have to get it for their factories and will pay literally anything.
So for the listener who's thinking, do I buy, do I sell? The whole risk-reward equation has shifted dramatically, hasn't it?
Fundamentally, buying silver at $30 an ounce was a low-risk, high-reward bet. Buying it at $120, you are risking a 30% drop back to $80 just to get started. The source suggests a strategy like dollar-cost averaging.
Don't throw all your chips on the table at once.
Exactly. Spread your purchases out over 3 to 6 months. If it crashes, you get to buy cheaper. If it takes off, well, at least you were in the game. But making a huge lump sum bet at an all-time high is, historically, a very dangerous move.
Okay, let's bring this all together. We've covered a ton of ground. If you had to boil it down to the 3 key takeaways for everyone listening, what are they?
Number 1 is the decoupling. That $21 price gap is proof. The physical market in the East and the paper market in the West are now living in 2 different realities.
Arbitrage is dead.
Number 2 is the supply chain break. The Perth Mint and Metalor halting orders. That's not a glitch. That's a system failure, a profound lack of physical metal.
And number 3?
The vaults. 26 metric tons draining from Shanghai in one day. That's the smoking gun. That's real demand.
And to zoom out for a second, this isn't just about silver, is it?
No, not at all. Gold is also surging in Shanghai, trading at what comes out to roughly $5,600 an ounce. This is a broader monetary story, not just a shortage of one industrial metal. It's about confidence, or maybe a lack of confidence, in paper currencies.
Which really brings us to the final big thought to leave people with. We've been talking about prices and contracts, but what this is really about is possession.
It is.
If we're really watching a moment in time where paper promises like futures contracts and ETFs are no longer being accepted as a good substitute for physical reality, what does that imply for everything else in your portfolio that's also just a promise on a screen?
That is the multi-trillion-dollar question. We live in a world of digital promises.
Yeah.
But when the system gets stressed, when the vaults are empty, the only thing that matters is what you can physically hold. If the silver market is the first to break because paper can't cover physical, which market is next?
Something to think about next time you check your brokerage account. Thanks for digging into this with us.
Anytime.